Hello folks, today I decided to make a very short video on the idea of releasing and masturbation and why it is really not important thing. It should not be an important thing in people's lives, although it indeed does not is not actually something too bad to think of it. However, as a person who I've been and in a way still am affected by disturbed sexuality, also as having minor eutastasinophilia. The point is, I thought about creating a short video to share a bit of my knowledge that I have on the idea of masturbation and releasing. Many people would ask why this topic would be or has actually become so taboo. I'm surrounded by a lot of people who feel ashamed of their sexuality and also run away from it being a entirely taboo aspect. They would simply run away from it and look at you in very hideous ways if you even dare bring up the subject. Now, why is sexuality good? Well, it is part of our existence, it is part of our bodily needs, so people should understand in the end that having sexual desires and even fantasies is not it is not a bad thing. Now, what is the difference in between a fetish and a fantasy? Well, the fantasy is something which, well, you fantasize about, you have a great attraction towards, be it that you manifest it through poetry, through images, usually they are through images, or through whatever way. It is something that you would wish you'd experience, but they are not necessarily something that you would die for. It's not necessarily something you would put to good practice any moment soon. When you manifest fetishes, they are similar to fantasies, but the subconscious mechanic is quite opposite. You want them, you crave them, but more so than that, you are dependent on the feelings that are derived from that. So if two fetishists meet one another and they have the same fetishes, let's say at least one, the point is that they will not be drawn by the other person. They will be drawn by the feelings that are emitted by those fetishes. For example, in sadomasochist groups, each one is dependent on the role they love and crave to experience through, and simply they won't be drawn, and there's no such thing as loyalty towards the other person. They are just dependent on the idea of receiving whatever they want to receive, in most cases pain, which is translated into pleasure in most fetishistic situations. Now, is masturbation bad? There have been numerous works regarding this, and even Napoleon had a few works about sexuality and sexual energy. Sexual energy is also the same as creational energy. Our creation energy is stored in our second chakra, the Swadhisthana, and it is the energy that we also need for inspiration. Inspiration comes through numerous of our chakras energies, for example the Ajna or the Sardai, the Vishuddhi, which is the higher mind or the chakra of the and also the chakra of the sound or the voice, and also especially the Swadhisthana, where we have the sexual energy, which is the same as life energy as well as inspirational energy. So sexual energy is also life energy. Each time you release, you feel very good at the moment, but again the problem is that you feel like hell afterwards. Why is that? Well, let's get into it. Masturbation is an important aspect because it draws more of your energy towards your Swadhisthana. It was used by numerous poets and numerous people throughout the world in order to boost their creativity. However, it was used in such ways by not too many of those. It was used in such ways that they wouldn't release. They would just masturbate and, kind of edge themselves, not allow themselves to release, because when you release, um, you lose that life energy, and it takes a while before it can be replenished. Also, releasing allows the loss of a lot of useful, um, let's say, substances that the body requires. Um, it is also proven that people who masturbate a lot can have, not always, but can end up with a lot of problems like loss of focus. They no longer have a wide imagination. They tend to become more animalistic, and well, depending on what they destabilize within themselves through this constant releasing, they will have certain problems. So in this picture I chose to depict the Muladhara chakra, which is also called the first chakra or the root chakra. We also have chakra in our feet. However, since I don't want to make these videos long, I won't dive into that today. So as you can read from here, there are a few ways to realize if it is somewhat balanced or not. If you want to balance your root chakra, eating any food that has the color red, for example tomatoes and red apples, can help towards this, and um, doing a lot of things towards this, and grounding, rooting yourself, like putting your bare feet on the ground, but not asphalt. It has to be pure normal ground. It helps even against cancer because you collect atoms, and you collect negative radicals that the earth emits, and these are used by the body to simply counteract the positive ions that we get from some of our foods, from all sorts of radiation and all sorts of sources around us, like pollution, for example. Those positive ions help at creating cancerous formations in our body. Our body can easily beat a few thousand even per day, but it takes only one to simply screw you over. Now, the Muladhara chakra is a chakra that is usually closed. When we release, this chakra opens, and when it opens, it allows the loss of that, well, actually, the release of that creative energy. Why do people tend to masturbate a lot? Well, in their auric fields, they have acquired, through feelings of loss and self-hatred, a lot of parasitic entities who really crave, really feed on our sexual energy. That is why they will even overwhelm people's minds with sexuality, fetishes, and all sorts of stuff. And that is why the younger generations also manifest so much sexuality, because nobody teaches them how to actually handle that much sexual energy and that much creative energy. Schools don't allow you to create whatever you want. You have to direct your energies towards whatever is ordered from you. So yes, probably another video on that as well, if you wouldn't mind. So when one releases, this chakra opens, and the life energy actually is released from the body. When this happens, it is somewhat of a bad point, because all that energy that left your body leaves a hole inside. That area where the energy was is now empty. The problem is that it quickly gets filled by other energy, the energy that you have around. And the question is your environment positive enough? Because if you're surrounded by people and you live in a surrounding where people self-victimize, a lot of victimhoods, liars, cheaters, and the such, energy vampires, all that energy you will take in your body sooner or later and will replace that energy that you released. And the point is, that's why you will feel so bad afterwards. You might also experience periods of loss of concentration, or the idea that simply ideas no longer come that much to you as they used to come before. That is why NoFap is a very potent thing. However, it is very hard to combat. And to move on, when releasing, people also in most cases realize something that is called a forced Kundalini awakening, which means that part of your Kundalini energy actually starts going up. And that is why in some cases people after they masturbate, especially in my case, they could see auras for a short period of time. That energy goes up towards your higher chakras, even to your head, and it can actually overwhelm your mind, which usually happens. That is why you will most likely not be able to concentrate for a certain period of time. Some people can actually see like contours, auric contours around different objects, like in my case. And yes, some people might even experience headaches after the such because the Kundalini energy would be too much for your other chakras, also especially if they are unbalanced. So more about this in another video. I really don't want to create very long videos, and what can I say, life is awesome and so are you. Have an awesome day.